What's up, fam? And welcome back to Locker Rooms from Life.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm with my main man, nephew, and an all-time superhero to me, and that is Felix Dixon. Four-time, not one, not two, not even three, but four-time collegiate football champion.
Yes,
So he's
sir.
been winning all his life, everywhere he's been, and he continues to win as an entrepreneur. He continues to win as a law enforcement officer. He continues to win as a community service project person. He does it all. Let me welcome you guys with Felix Dixon.
What's going on, Nuck? How you doing?
How you
Like I
doing,
say,
baby?
you
Good
the
to see
man. You
you.
the man. Let's get it going. Let's get it going.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here, Felix. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your upbringing and how'd you get into
Absolutely.
some
Oh yeah.
sports?
Well, I'm Felix Dixon. Born and raised Clearwater, Florida. Frank Demetrius Dixon. Football has always been my passion, but I always knew I had to find kind of a different route if the Lord had bigger plans for me. So that was my main thing right there. But yeah, like I said, going back to the football days, just always training, working hard, respecting my elders, just putting the Lord first in everything that I do. That came a huge long way, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way.
Man, we wouldn't want you any other way.
Yes, sir.
Felix, you are big time. I mean, I really respect the things that you have done, that you are doing. Um, Before all the rings, before all the championships, tell us, who were you?
Little boy from Marshall Park, Cherry Harris Park, with a dream. Always trying to strive and be the best young boy that I could be. In the classroom, outside of the classroom, just being a leader and never being a follower. Just listening to my parents, doing the right things. Especially when no one's watching, because that's the main key. A lot of people like to put on this front and do the right things when people are watching. But what you gonna do? When it's just all you on your own. And just like I said, just handling that adversity. Just getting your mental stage right. I feel like that's a lot that a lot of kids go through. And it's not talked about as much. Because sometimes some days we don't have no one to talk to, and because it's just be a lot going on, from school, and kids, they go through a lot too. A lot of people don't know it. Yeah, we got it good, and but kids, they go through a lot too. So just being that humble, young man, just trying to strive and be the best person I can be and the best athlete that I could be, in the classroom and out on the football field as well.
I love it. I love it. So sports meant a lot to you growing up, and do you think that shaped your life and to the person that you've become today?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I just say, just the discipline and just having that mental mindset, waking up, going to practice, being the first one in, leaving, being the last one to leave, shall I say, and just being on time and just having that, that discipline and that courage. That's the main focus right now. And a lot of, kids that don't realize that and understand that how just the discipline in life and in the sports, takes you a long way throughout, in life in general, whether it's being on the job on time, just being on the meeting on time, just the little things like that, that grasp and just, that was real important to me. And I learned that as a young age, from my dad, just seeing how hard he worked and just always, just preparing myself for whatever.
Man, I love it. I know you're doing a lot of things right now. Um, Take us back through your journey from high school. Where did you go to high school, and how did you come about to your college journey? Just from high school through college. Take us
Yes,
through
sir.
that.
Yes, sir. So I never forget Countryside High School, 2012, freshman year. It was kind of the little league superstar, just growing up, playing for Greenwood, Dunedin Falcons, and the Clearwater Junior Tornadoes.
Okay.
Just always being that star. I know I had to make a different name for myself, arriving at Countryside, just meeting new members, meeting new, teachers and things like that, meeting new friends, miss my old friends, but it's like, I felt like ninth grade is when that was that boy to man kind of energy that I had. So just, you know, um, shout out to Coach Hoban, Chris Hoban. Was my first high
Okay.
school
Oh
coach.
man.
He kind of just prepped me and prepared me throughout the summer. I never imagined waking up 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning as a freshman, just going into workouts because little league, go to school. You got practice at 6:30. You know, out of by like 8 o'clock. You know, we go to school the next day, not till 9 o'clock.
Exactly.
So that kind of was like a huge eye opener. You know, those summer workouts and just having that structure. You know, that Cougar pride, and you know, it took a real toll on me, and just like you know, just growing and grasping from that. Like I said, going back to the showing up to workouts early, showing to the meetings early, going over playbooks, just things like that kind of, you know, helped me prepare, you know, for the next 3-4 years of my high school, you know, career, which also led me up to my college. So, you know, high school, it was rough in the beginning because, like I said, it was a big adversity stage, but well, I got moved up to varsity my freshman year. You know, I played JV a few games, and then I ended up getting.
I remember.
You know, I ended up getting moved up to varsity, and that was kind of a big adversity stage too, because playing running back, kickoff return, being the superstar hero going into the ninth grade, playing cornerback, not really getting too many chances to touch the ball, and you know, just like you know, do what I do best. And so that was kind of like you know, it hit me a little bit, but just knowing, okay, interceptions, big time playmakers make big time plays.
Oh,
And, you
yeah.
know, so just that adversity and turning the game around, you know, I had a passion at corner. And then, you know, the Lord's will, it happened. My junior year, that's when I got placed in the kickoff return. And
Okay.
that's when I kind of, you know, just started having fun with the game and just having more, like, you know, just being more confident, shall I say. Because like I said, you know, being that cornerback, you know, you just got to, it's a big mind thing. You know, you can go throughout the whole game without being any like, you know, balls thrown your way. So, you know, you just gotta be ready for whatever. As my dad always say, you know, just be ready. You know, when the ball is up, that's your ball. That's not the wide receiver ball. And, you know, just try to be, you know, the best cornerback that I could be, huh? So,
Man,
yes,
so did you find it a big transition coming from Little League football to high school football? How was that
oh
transition?
yes, that transition. It was different. Just going from playing around like you know guys kind of my age a little bit, maybe a year or two older than me,
That's
but
right.
big boy football coming in ninth grade, and we're
Playing
going to
against
707, and we playing against you know like these joker 6'2", 6'3". I'm guarding that you know wide receivers, and you know they used to do it. They used to do me. You know I'm not even gonna lie to you. You know, because
Okay.
like just being like you know that rookie, but it made me stronger. It made me a better football player. It made me like, you know, realizing everything not gonna go your way out on this field. You're gonna make mistakes.
Yep.
You're going, you know, things gonna happen. Things gonna happen just like in life. Things happen. You never know what to expect. So you just gotta stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So
I like
that was
that.
like a huge kind of like motivational and just like, you know, just watching film, just trying to like, you know, do the best that I can in the weight room and just like, you know, putting in the extra work. That's what comes down to. You could be the best person out there, but if you don't put in the extra work, if you don't know that playbook, you know, they ain't not gonna have it. So
see, I'm listening. Those of you out there listening, you hear that? That's that championship mindset that Felix had. He had it from a little kid through high school into college. Well, we're going to talk about him winning and continue to win, and after college. So he's been winning all his life. So going on from that, how did you decide on where you wanted to go to school? Who came around talking to you?
Absolutely. So, you know, just always being a Florida Gator growing up, just bleeding that orange and blue.
Oh, yeah.
I'll never forget, you know, talking to Tim Tebow at the age of 10 and just wanting to, you know, be like one of the Percy Harvins or the Reggie Bushes, you know, just always kind of, you know, looking up to those guys. So that was always, you know, my goal and my dream, but just knowing like, you know, how things operated. Cause like you said, in life, everything not going to go your way. But I never forget just my junior year, 11th grade, I received my first offer from Alcorn State University.
Okay.
And that gave me the chills right there. It made me a little bit more hungry, you know, because a lot of people, they don't get offers at, you know.
Not that early.
You know what I'm saying? Junior year. So that right there, that kind of gave me that strive and that motivation. And I ended up getting 6 offers after that.
Junior year?
Junior and senior year.
Okay.
So all combined. And North Dakota State, I'll never forget. I took my first visit up there. You know, first time seeing snow. You know, so it was kind of like man, you know. So I felt like you know a little kid, like kind of dreaming. So you know, they gave me an offer right then and there, right when I got my first official visit up at North Dakota State, and I committed right away. You know, I feel like that was the best choice for me at the time. You know, I was 17 years old, so it was still kind of you know young and a little eager and excited, but not really knowing like you know, okay, Felix, college is a whole different ball game. This is D1. football. This school, they're known for winning 5, 6 national championships.
Yeah.
Just being around Carson Wentz and just seeing that, structure, that took a huge toll on me. So I would say, I'm gonna be honest too, never knowing what you're gonna get yourself into at that time. I prayed about it. I feel like that was the right choice for me at the time, and the rest was history with that. We're gonna get on to that story, later on during this interview. But yeah, that was one of the best opportunities and the best chances that I had in my life.
So going into North Dakota State, and they were traditionally used to winning, used to being on top.
Yes, sir.
How was that a big change from coming from high school and the mentality of the coaches, the players, and the expectation?
Oh man,
that
was a huge change, because I would say Countryside High School, we got stumbling ground, but it was just never really got to that state championship role. And I never forget when I was 10 years old, I won my first football championship with CJT. Shout out one of my favorite coaches, Christopher.
Okay.
Christopher, Coach Fitz, man, I never forget him. So, but just like, winning that championship at a young age, I always told myself I was going to get back one, but never knew when, So just, like I said, Countryside High, that Cougar pride, shall I say, and just having that discipline and courage, but just never really getting to the big final ball. And, so I really didn't know what to expect going into college at North Dakota State. So transitioning from high school to college, I thought, I was doing something in high school, but man, college is a whole different ballgame. As far as meetings, that goes back to the playbooks. Like, I was doing it back in high school, but this is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Now. It is crunch time, just watching film and just watching the people that came, before you, and just just listening and just trying to, follow that Bison pride. That was a huge, a huge journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say adversity at level 2 again when it comes down to that, because I broke my foot that first year. First year, they wanted me to play. Felix Dixon, we have high expectations for you, coming in, skin and bones at 170 at corner, just my speed, I guess that's what kind of impressed them the most. But just going in there, just working hard, and then boom, that adversity, just, never giving up. And yeah, I got hurt. I
like that what you just said. Never doing what?
Never giving up.
That's
never
what I'm
giving
talking
up.
about.
Never giving
there you
up.
go.
And, never settling. So that was a big, huge adversity. Florida boy, North Dakota. Never seen snow before. Being around people you've never, ever seen before, even interacted with. So that was a little, kind of had to adapt it to. I just had to, put the Lord first, and everything. He'll take care of everything. The rest. But go back to when I got hurt. That was kind of like a huge adversity stage, because we're in the middle of July.
Yes.
I'm getting ready for fall camp in the season. Next thing you know, I had an avulsion fracture injury. So avulsion fracture injury is an injury to your foot. So outside of kind of like the ankle. So I fractured my foot doing that, and they said I'd be out for the remainder of the season. So I had a red shirt. I ended up red shirting that season, and I didn't get surgery till like 4 or 5 months later. But during that red shirt stage, see, a lot of people don't tell the high school, the seniors just. A lot of that, the red shirt stage is like developing. You're seeing, you're noticing the playbook. You're noticing, what's going on film. You're watching practice film, and you're just engaging into everything that's kind of like coming your way.
So would you say? So my perception of red shirt was that I'm not gonna get to play. I'm missing out. But would you say it's an opportunity to get better, to learn more? While you're not playing?
Absolutely. One of the red shirt phase could have probably been one of the best opportunities that I had, because everything was kind of moving so fast at one point. But, I feel like that was God's way of saying, hey, just relax, slow down a little bit. Let me show you. Let me guide you. I had to play that in the back of my head. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Mm-hmm. I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So that brought me a long way throughout that huge red shirt stage.
So the young man or the young lady that's sitting here in college, and they're probably maybe red shirted or maybe not, what do you have to tell them about red shirting?
Trust the process and don't rush the process. I can tell you that from a huge point of view. Trust the process, don't rush the process, and always remember, everything happens for a reason. And just take that. Don't take that as discouragement. Just learn from it, grow. learn the ways that you've never had any chances to learn. So I feel like that is real important, and just trust the process and don't rush the process and don't ever give up.
So that's just 2 championship rings. You got 2 more while you were playing ball.
Yes, sir.
So where did you get your next 2 from?
So I ended up transferring to Valdosta State. We ended up winning a championship at North Dakota State my redshirt freshman year.
Why did you transfer?
Kinda. That was a toll. That took a toll on me. The coaches were leaving, and it's just like, man, things weren't going my way.
Okay.
As far as me being that high school little league superstar, and to me, elevating into a college, Division I level, kind of got a little bit, discouraged. Things weren't going my way. Kind of wasn't having a lot of fun with the game, and me and the coaches, we had a meeting, and we both agreed on it was best. It was the best choice for me to go somewhere else.
Excellent agreement.
So I ended up transferring to Valdosta State. First year I played with Kerwin Bell. He actually was a quarterback for Florida Gators. So
yeah, that's right, his son.
Yep. So this is 2018. Going in, I'm in the heat now.
Okay.
Stacey, so I'm not in no cold no more. I'm not, in the snow. Back home, 3.5 hours, take 75, and right there, my family, they was able to come to a lot of my games, and that just meant the world to me. That just meant the world to me. Things were going my way there a little bit, but like I said, that's that adversity hitting. And when I say adversity, you're still kind of worrying about the family members back at home. I'm losing loved ones. I'm losing, high school members that I played football with committing suicide. I'm losing cousins and things like that. So all that, took a huge, toll on me, as far as, trying to chase that national championship ring and getting there. So that took a huge toll on me. Huge toll on me.
Now, all this time, you're getting older, you're maturing. How did your role or your mindset or your leadership, how did that change from your first ring to your 4th ring?
Oh man, that's a good question. I would say that leadership, just kind of still having that mentality. Boom, first one in the weight room, last one to leave.
Yeah.
First one on the field, last one to leave the field. And just me giving that game into the younger me. When I say the younger me, the freshmen, the sophomores, and just just showing them that that process and that structure, and knowing what it takes to win a national championship, and knowing what it takes to being. Just having that team camaraderie, it was a blessing. And like I say, time flies, and I never really took that for granted at all.
So what lessons from, just the championship teams, the championship coaches, the championship mentality that you bring into life today? What do you bring in from all of those experiences?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Yeah. So I would say,
I see just being, how you carry yourself.
Right, absolutely. Just still being humble. Going back to things not going to go my way all the time. And that could just be for a job. That could just be for family, just like anything. So all those lessons kind of molded me into the human being that I am today, just as far as, going back to sports and just being on that structure. I feel like, every man, every young boy just needs a sport in their life, just to have that, that discipline, having just that structure, just yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And like I said, things like that go a long way.
I know that you graduated with your degree in communications.
Yes,
you
sir.
Put the student in the athlete. I love it.
Yes, sir.
How intentional were you about life after football?
Oh man, so that's another good question too. I'd say it didn't really hit me until my junior year. As far as the life after football, that's we go to class, we attend class, but it's like the NFL is always on our mind. Boom, we made it to the big stage, college. So everyone, all our mindset is boom. What's going to be, when we get to the NFL, are we going to have a shot? So all that is just kind of racing in my mind. And it didn't hit me till my junior year, and just I had a talk with God, and I never forget I was in my dorm room, and I'm just like, Felix, okay, what if this doesn't work out? What if, the Lord has something bigger for you? And I kind of got on my feelings about that. And, I broke down, and just, like I said, just thinking, I'm already hard on myself. I didn't want to fail, my community. I didn't want to fail my family. But I feel like us athletes at that time we get so caught up in trying to please everybody and do things for the right and the wrong reasons, and we never really get to sit down and just have a talk with God and just ask him show me your way, show me your favor, and I feel like that's real important. So I say my junior year kind of hit me. Was still making honor roll, was still doing what I had to do, but it's like, all right, what if this dream that you've been dreaming for so long, what if it don't work out? Because things happen. I never thought my freshman year that I'd get hurt. I never thought coaches would be leaving without not telling you and things like that. So it was a huge adversity stage. So I'd say my junior year, and I prayed about it. I talked to my dad about it, talked to my mom about it. So and that's until my senior year came, and we had no football season at all due to COVID. So that was another adversity stage.
How did
Like,
you manage during
man,
COVID?
man, that when I tell you that was rough, I'm gonna say it's because it's like boom, my film's not all the way there yet. I'm like I'm second guessing myself. I'm like I'm kind of going through like a mental stage where it's like, man, what if a lot of people don't go to college. A lot of people don't know what fall camp is like. I'm blessed to be in this opportunity, but I still had that what if. So it was 2020. Our season ended up getting canceled. My doctor stayed, and it was like, oh, you guys could come back next year. You have another year eligibility. Well, I'm like, Uncle says I worked so hard. I put in, the work as far as never being late to meeting, never being late to practice. And just always showing up. Even when things, like I said, don't go your way. Could have a rough day, in the classroom, and you still showing up. So that's all that really matters, just showing up. And so I took that leap of faith, and so I didn't play my senior year due to COVID and it being canceled. I'm like, well, you know what? I graduate 4 or 5 more months. Let me check a shot out, this NFL draft. So I did the best that I can. I got invited to a combine in Indianapolis, so that was a huge blessing. Just to show off my skills. I had a 4.5 and a 40 as a cornerback. Bench press. It could have been a little bit better, but just me taking that leap of faith and trusting the Lord, just trying to do the best that I can to find agents to, just get my name out there, just with exposure, because that, like I said, you only get one life, and you gotta do the best with your abilities.
Exactly.
So I ended up graduating though that year of 2021 of May.
That's spring.
I ended up graduating, yes sir. So I ended up graduating. I got a call from the Jets. Felix, we love how quick you are, your explosiveness. We just need you to get your film up a little bit more, and we're loving you. We feel like it's a lot of areas that you can improve on, but like I said, we'll do the best we can. Reach back out to you, and so just something like that, Stacey. That just made my whole day. Just that little kid just always dreaming, just like getting a call, and like I said, God. That goes back to God having bigger plans for me. It didn't work out. That's when the COVID kind of got a little bit serious in New York. So I really didn't hear back from them. And, just like I said, I did the best that I can, just trying to get my film out there, emailing, 1,000 coaches, as long as I said that I never gave up, I did the best that I can. And I felt like, the Lord was trying to tell me something. And so that's when I'm like, you know what, let me go back home. Let me try to focus, let me try to, get things together. Never worked before. It was always football, blood, sweat, tears. I put my all into football. So now it's kind of like the life after football transition. And then another adversity stage. So 2021, just back in August, I say, I started, working for McDonald's, jobs I've never,
trying to stay busy.
Just trying to, stay busy. It got a little discouraging. I worked in a dietary, kitchen at a nursing home. Me, I'm having fun with it. I'm loving it because it's something new. I was only getting paid $10 an hour there, but it was something but you just had everybody. Oh, you gonna try to go? What you doing back down here? You gonna try to go back to the NFL? Or you gonna try to do the best you can to get in the NFL? You gonna go back to college? Like what you gonna do? And I'm just like I'm just whatever the Lord allowed me to do. That's I'm just trying to work my way up and being the best man that I could be. But I could take you back a little bit, Stacey, like 2021, going back to Big Feet Fitness, just that goes back to that junior year, just me reminiscing. Well, I love working out. Let me try to, uplift. Let me try to motivate, some females that want to get, in shape and just shed a few pounds. So that year of 2020 of the COVID going into my senior year.
I remember seeing
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So just going back to 2020, getting ready for that senior year, not knowing if I was going to have a season or not. Just like, everybody at home, I'm like, you know what? Outside, it's not closed eventually. So, hey, let me get like, a few females. Let's try to work out. Let's try to do something to get in shape and just get that heart rate, man. And Stace, I say my first, I never forget it was July of 2020.
Okay.
My first fitness class, I had about 15 females out there.
Yes.
And we went on Coachman Park. We walked, we jogged, we did lunges, squats. I'm like, So I took my knowledge of what I knew from college and the strength and conditioning.
Yes.
I translated that into Big Feet Fitness, having my own fitness, business and just going down that entrepreneurship and,
And you were big, man. I used to see on Facebook, you had a lot of women out there, people. I'm like, man, I didn't realize it was you.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that was my passion, and that's I feel like, just try not to have one passion of doing something. Always, just try different things, whether it's like, going out for a walk, just like meditating, just find something that, you're good at and, just try to use that. So fast forward to 2021, I started doing, free workouts for all my female clients and, I started getting kids involved in everything. So
yeah.
And that just, that was a huge blessing.
So what was the inspiration? I know you even you say women, but you have kids, you have men, you have athletes.
Yes, sir.
What was the inspiration in just like including everybody?
Right, because man, everybody needed. Everybody needs just that discipline. Everybody just needs that structure. Even me, my boy Theo Wilson, I call him old out.
Yeah,
he put it on me last week. I was doing workouts. I've never even I didn't go in that mindset just knowing, I'm a trainer. You know what I'm saying? He's showing me things that I've never worked on, and like I said, just having that discipline and that courage and just like that drive to become the best version of yourself. Man.
Shout out to Ola.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Just want to ask you, what similarities did you find, or do you find building a championship team as to building your own business? Being an entrepreneur. What kind of similarities do you?
So I kind of put myself in a position of the things that my head coach used to do. I tried to kind of structure that into the entrepreneurship as far as personal training and just giving them that knowledge, teaching them, boom, this is the proper way. Boom, this is I'm gonna correct your posture, your form, like all that. So I tried to do the do's and the don'ts, that I really didn't agree with for my head coach, and I tried not to be kind of that same. But I just just switch it up and be different in my own way. Just just hearing my clients voice their opinions on certain things. It could be something outside of training, just kind of just being that that personal trainer, of course, but that listener, that that healer, that doctor, that's always been important to me,
So I know several women, several men, several kids, several athletes that would be interested in working out with Big Feet. If they are interested, how can they get in touch with you? Where can they find your information?
Yes, sir.
What can they do just to get in touch with you?
Felix Dixon on all platforms. Felix Dixon or Big Feet Fitness. So we got the shirts. We're getting a lot of shirts made.
Yeah,
so
I gotta get one of them.
You definitely contact me, and it don't even necessarily have to be about fitness. It could just be about how to get through this day. What advice do you have, Felix? What advice do you have? As far as me getting through work, or what kind of areas do you feel like I should improve in? Just to be a better human being, and just to be a better person. And just having that leadership and that discipline and that guidance. So, it don't necessarily even have to be about training, so I feel like, that's real important as well. Cause a lot of people, they don't put that out there, as much. So, it only really got to be about working out. It could just be, hey, I just need 5-10 minutes to talk. I just need, a listening ear.
So last year, August 24th, you became a Pinellas County Sheriff Deputy.
Yes, sir.
So what led you into that area of life? Or
oh man, I'd say about 3-4 years ago, still trying to find it out, still trying to figure it out. I had my own business as far as training. It was my passion, but sometimes, you know, the bills still got to get paid at the end of the day. And, you know, a lot of people, they don't like work, they pay to work out. And, you know, hey, I do your thing on that one. So it was kind of like a boom. And, you know, I had mom and dad in my ear, had grandma in my ear, auntie in my ear, you know, try to find a job, you know, with real benefits and real structure. And the younger me, really not trying to hit that. You know, I'm not, I want to be my own, you know, boss owner, this and that. But, you know, I just kind of had to, you know, open up and realize and just like, you know, take things into consideration. And so, like I said, I failed numerous amounts of times, you know, fire academy, that didn't work out for me, you know. I tried the insurance route. I tried, you know, so many, you know, different avenues. And like I said, just like, you know, failed 1,000 times, but that one win just gonna always do it. So fast forward, my godmother, Shanique Harris, shout out to Shanique. I love her. So she kind of persuaded me to go down that route and just, you know, just take a look at the application, you know, just see, because I work in the jail. A lot of people, they think I'm a, you know, a road deputy. You know, it's like everything the same as far as, you know, law enforcement, just protecting and serving, care, custody, and control. Like, you know, those are the main, you know, kind of outlooks that they love to see. And I'm like, So as I'm looking over, you know, the application and things like that, you know, so like, I can see myself just actually just being like, you know, that disciplinary, like, you know, human being, that like kind of that male figure that, you know, that these inmates can need, you know, so they don't never have to bring their butts right back into jail. So, you know, I started looking at it from like, you know, that avenue. And, you know, I had my aura board and the rest was history. The rest was history. And this is the best, you know, the best opportunity I ever had in a long time. I wouldn't say my lifetime, but just, you know, just seeing how, you know, God working and just, you know, not giving up, you know, not beating myself up around, you know, like,
So I'm looking at you and man, you look good, and I know you're young, and I know inmates and just people see you as an officer. And how does protecting and serving compare to winning championships?
I would say, that's a good question. Now you don't pick my brain on that one. So I'd say just knowing, just being a good deputy compared to being a good football player.
Oh yeah,
those two have a lot in common, and I say that to say that just, you know, just being yourself.
Okay,
being myself out on the football field. I never, you know, was a trash talker, you know, things like that. I always, you know, been humble, just like, you know, the deputy that I am today, just being humble. And, you know, like I said, just, you know, just discipline them and like, you know, just giving them, you know, like, you know, what they need. Like I said, I care, custody, and control, and just being myself, you know, not going in there trying to be the big, you know, the biggest, you know, rudest deputy. Just like, you know, hey, you got to do this, you know, just saying it in a way that they understand, you know. And like I said, that can go a lot of ways. Just going in there the same way. And I didn't say that. I didn't how to say that. Leaving the same way that I came in.
Okay.
And that's, you know, as long as I could do that, and, you know, just put the Lord first, you know, everything set in stone.
Man, Felix, I know you do a lot of stuff, man. You are the man. You young, and we're from the same area, and you give back to the community.
Yes, sir.
I mean, big time give back. You do back to school drives.
Yes, sir.
You do toy drives for Christmas, which I'm trying to be on your team for that.
Oh yeah.
And why and what caused you to do that, to give back?
Yes, sir. Ooh. I say that just always just kind of been in my heart since a little boy.
Okay.
I say the whether it's, you know, being in the first grade and seeing one of my friends, you know, not having shoes. Just, hey, I'm blessed and fortunate to have, you know, this and that. You know, we didn't have it much back then too, but hey, somebody always got it worse.
That's right.
Somebody always have it worse. And just like, you know, just always growing up, I want to be a difference maker in my community. I want to give back. Just having that vision at 10 years old. And like I say, it's crazy because another thing, I got work. I always felt like I had to be in the NFL to do that. You know, I'm blessed to be with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. I'm blessed to have my own business, and I'm blessed to have a family and friends that, hey, Felix, sit back. We got you. Let me help you out. Let me help you out. Whether it's, you know, showing up to my events, you know, either it's showing up, you know, financially, just like, you know, the small things. That's, you know, everything is appreciated because, you know, those kids, they are our future. They need us, and like I said, I go back to me saying in the beginning of the interview, you know, them kids, they go through a lot. They go through a lot. So if I could just be like, you know, that that helping hand in a way, because you can't please everybody, but just being like that, just doing my part, and like I said, it's in my heart, Unc, and I'm gonna try to do it as long as I can. So
Felix, you are an inspiration. Young kids, adults, old, young, listen to your story. I'm inspired by your story. What do you want those that's listening to your story realize about possibilities?
mm.
What would you like for them to say, man?
Ooh.
Just listening to Felix, I'm inspired to do this. I realize something is possible.
Absolutely. Ooh, I'd say just building character. Always treating others the way that they want to be treated.
Yeah.
First and foremost, and treating everybody with respect. And like I said, just I'm a huge believer of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Just putting Him first. I know I'm not perfect. A lot of people, they feel like he got his. No, I'm a human being too. I got, I'm not perfect, so I just trying to do the impossible, shall I say? Just beating the odds, just always, taking that risk, just like I said in the beginning, never giving up, just stay focused, always being a leader and never a follower, because you never know, what the Lord got in store for you.
I know. So, Felix, you 24 or 25?
28. Just turned 28
okay,
last week.
28.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Man, you still a young man, and you all in your career.
Yes, sir.
Now, and I had a question. At what point in your life, that you feel like you were forced to grow?
Ooh. I would say
about what age? Yeah.
I would say about 5 years ago when I was 23.
Okay.
When, like I said, playing football, starting at the age of 4 years old, flag football for Greenwood, and just having it all come to an end at 23. That was like a huge, it's like what do I do? So I definitely say at the age of 23, and just that life after football. Okay, how am I going to keep up with myself? How am I going to keep up with these bills? Like what's next? So I definitely say at the age of 23. So, and I'm still learning every single day. I'm still growing and trying to be the best human being, the best deputy, the best person, the best son, the best person I could be.
See, now that summed it up, because I wanted to ask you, how do you define success today compared to when you were a student athlete?
Absolutely.
And in a sense, you kind of said it, but I don't know if you.
Right.
How do you find success today compared to back then?
Success. That's a good question. Like I would say, because I've just been at this stage right now, I've never been happy. And I say that to say this, just
I like that.
Just building that, that courage, and 5 years ago at the age of 23, not knowing, just having those what ifs and sometimes those negative thoughts, because the devil he'll try to sneak up on you, just
I know that's right.
He'll try to have your mind going this way and that way. So I definitely say that the success now is, oh man, it's no words can't even describe it. It's blessed.
Me listening to you talk and just hearing your story, I see you as a success, and you're doing successful things, and your journey is just going straight up. And I know you have higher expectations for yourself, absolutely. But I'm like, man, I grow up, I want to be like Felix.
Yes, sir. And hey, it's nothing wrong with just trying to chase something, chasing a dream, and like I said, I go back to my Lord and Savior, just like Him having bigger, huger plans, and so that's all that matters in the long run.
So at the end of the day, or when the lights go off, or when it's time to hang up the cleats, or when somebody, one of your former teammates or parents or a young kid say, Felix Dixon, what do you want to be remembered as, or how would you like to be thought of?
Let's see. Respectful, loving, just giving, live to give. That's one of my favorite, quotes. Live to give, and
love it.
Just like I said, going back to, just it'd be the little things, Uncle Stacey, just never cursing in front of grown adults, just never
respect.
Always respect, just,
yes.
Just the little things, pulling your pants up, making sure, when you're around your elders, just try to, just like you say, show that respect, just, just be yourself, and just because That's what I want to take with me. Just going. Forward. Fast forward to life. I'm very grateful to have two loving parents. They've been married for about 27, 26
Oh
years
yeah.
now, and that's a huge blessing. And just like like I said, we didn't have it all, but they made a way for me. So
That's right. They did an excellent job.
yeah,
Did an excellent
appreciate you.
job.
Appreciate you.
Moms and pops, y'all did an excellent job. I gotta ask you before we get out of
Talk to me.
here.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Tell the people out here one thing about Felix Dixon that they may not know about you.
Ooh, I'm scared of heights.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, I'm scared. I wouldn't say I'm scared of them. I don't really fool with heights and just being high up. Let's see.
Okay. And
I'm
if
trying to think.
when we go and sit in your car, what's on your playlist?
Ooh, some play. I'm a mixture of everything.
Okay.
I love one of my favorite top artists is Michael Jackson, and then sometimes I'll put on some Rod Wave.
You know about Michael Jackson?
You know who my daddy is.
Okay.
Huh?
Oh, that's right.
Some
That's
Michael
right.
Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Prince. Every now and then I switch it up, and then one day I'll be in a Rod Wave mood. Drake, my favorite artist too is Young Jeezy. I was able to meet him back in May, and just that had always been my dream too. So
Okay.
gotta put certain dreams you'll never. Even I was able to chop it up with him. I'm supposed to be working him out sometime soon. So, and that's just little things like that. So yeah, and then every now and then in the mornings I put on some Marvin Sapp. Never would have made it.
Okay.
He saw the best of me. So it's all over the place. All over the place. So
man, Felix. Hey, I'm glad I had this opportunity to get you in here, man. I gotta hang out with you more.
Yes,
You're doing a lot of things for the community. I see you rooted with good family roots. You rooted in God. Only the sky's the limit for you.
yes, sir.
Entrepreneur, law enforcement, and you got to check out Big Fee's Fitness.
Yeah.
Check him out, guys.
Just hit me up. Hit me up. Like I say, whether it's just you need some encouragement, just to talk, or even want a workout plan. I'm the man. I'm the man.
Yes, he is. And I'm glad you came by and stopped in the spot and see what we got going on. I got much love for you, man.
I love it.
It's good to see you.
Yes, sir. You're the man.
I appreciate you, baby.
I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.
Let me know if you need anything.
Definitely.
Yes, sir. All righty.